Hi, this is Greg McIntyre with McIntyre Elder Law, helping seniors protect their assets and legacies. And I'm here with fellow attorney Brenton Begley, who's also with our firm. And we're going to talk today about being a role model and what that means. And being a role model, perhaps not in the traditional sense that you might think of, but by setting an example for your family and for other reasons. So how can estate planning, Brenton, how can elder law in any way help you be a role model or set a precedent for your family?
Right. So, I wrote an article about this because I really think about this sort of thing when I'm talking to clients. The way that you can set an example and be a role model is to show your loved ones how prepared you were in your life, and not only after your life, but during your life too. Life is easier if you organize, right? Life is easier if you plan ahead. You give this example all the time, Greg. If you have, your son Tucker, right? If he has homework, when should he do it?
He should do it ahead of time, not till the night before. Okay.
That's right.
Or
That's
not
right.
do it. Yeah, he should do it ahead of time.
But should he, is he going to do his homework ahead of time or the night before if he doesn't have anybody to model that behavior after? If his dad waits till the last minute to do everything, if his dad doesn't or plan ahead, is he going to plan ahead?
So
and the answer is no.
Great role models that he has is his older brother, okay, who's in college now, who really, really gets ahead on his planning and homework and is very organized. And I would like to think I am a good role model for him as well, as far as planning, organization, and living a good life, to give him an example. But to that point, my parents never talked about money.
Right.
That was a horrible thing. And another great article we should write, by the way.
Right.
Because
you can go to either extreme, like your
Sure.
parents don't talk about money. And so that's one extreme. And my parents always talked about money, always talked about bills. And so us kids felt guilty about,
Right.
the fact that, if we didn't have money, right? So I think you can go either extreme, but if you can show that you're secure, even if there's everybody has financial problems,
Sure.
But if you can show that you're secure, you're not afraid to talk about money, how it works, but you don't put that burden, on other people, then that's the balance you want to strike. That's the type of role model you want to be.
Sure. I think you have to be. I think if your parents, grandparents set a culture in a family of planning, of being financially responsible, of talking about those things, as opposed to simply ignoring them and act like they don't exist, then you could change the trajectory of your family by being a role model, by saying, look, I am doing planning for my behalf and your behalf. My foundational documents are in place. I love it when people come to me and say, it was so easy to operate things when something happened to mom and she needed some help. I was able to come in as the healthcare agent under the power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney. We were able to manage all accounts so that all bills were paid. And she already had the planning set up so that her property passed maybe outside of probate and was protected against any liens like real estate, home, things like that. And
Right.
Perhaps other accounts and things like that were also protected and passed outside of probate as well. When I can help somebody set up that way, it's awesome. And I happen to think it rubs off on those kids too, because those children a lot of times say, hey, we need to get with you to do some planning as well, so that we can set things up equally to be protected and to be that easy for our children.
Oh man, those are the easiest consultations, aren't they? When they come in already knowing the importance of planning ahead because they've had real world experience with that. You don't have to explain to them the importance of these foundational documents like powers of attorney, living will, that sort of thing. And, which, hey, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind spreading the gospel. I don't mind informing people of how it all works. But it's great when people already know. They come in and they say, hey, we really need this because if I'm in the same situation that my mother was in, my sibling was in, my spouse was in, I'd want someone to be able to act for me or I'd want my money not to be tied up, or I'd want, my finances or my health care, right? I want to be protected.
Absolutely. So there's all kind of role models out there. I remember Michael Jordan was my role model growing up, one of them in sports, and I was out trying to dunk like on a first an 8 foot, then a 9 foot, when I grew, and all my friends were out there. I mean, just yoking on a 9 foot goal, just trying to take it down, all trying to be like Mike. Then we'd throw it up to 9.5, and then 10. And just all trying to be like Mike and dunk and just be awesome. And the guy was a great role model to look up to, kind of like a Superman of basketball, really. But those aren't the only types of role models that we have. Who are our other role models? Leaders in the community, sometimes policemen, sometimes firemen, politicians used to be role models, right?
Yeah,
yeah, and we have certainly historical role models. How many people look at their family as their role models?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
not
certain
enough.
members of the
Not
family
enough.
are always going to serve as a role model, in one way or another. It could be good or bad, because role models aren't.
That's a good point. You're going to be a role model whether you want to or not, despite what Charles Barkley says. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hey, man, I've seen many, many people take pride in not reading, take pride in not educating themselves, take pride in living a certain way that may be detrimental because that's the way my dad did it. That's the way my mom did it.
And they were cool with that because that was their culture in their family and their comfort zone.
Right. And those parents didn't understand how much of an effect they were having on those children. Right. By
they were a role model. So you don't have to step up and be like, hey, I'm going to be a role model. No. I'm going to be the super person in a great way. You are being a role model in your family, no matter whether you want to or not, and no matter whether you step up and proclaim that you're a role model or not. People in your family are watching you, especially the young people, and saying, hey, this is how I should be. This is how my dad is. This is how my granddad is, mother, grandmother, right? And it makes them okay with being the same way.
Right.
Usually, some people go against the grain, but I think, society would show and history would show it's not the norm that you go outside of your family culture and boundaries and values.
Hey, man, I wore some weird clothes throughout middle school, early high school, because hey, I had an older brother who went through the 90s grunge phase for a while, right? So I looked up to him too, man. I want to be just like him. And so I wore some pretty odd clothing growing up because of that. And hey, that's over, right? I like to think I have a good sense of style now. He's got a better sense of style now. That's right. Wear a suit. But
it's not your brother's suit, though. It's not your
brother. Right. It's not my brother's suit. It's my suit. But I'll tell you this, he didn't realize that, I was wearing funny clothes because he was wearing funny clothes. Right. I mean, he was just living life and I was just trying to be like him for the better or worse, and that's just such a good example. I mean, I saw that with my younger, nieces and nephews. I'm the youngest, so I don't have any younger siblings. So nieces and nephews, they wanted to be like me too. So I had to, take a look at my wardrobe and fix that, take a look at my actions, fix that too,
So planning to protect your money, property, getting your legal and financial affairs in order sets an amazing precedent for your children, your grandchildren, the people that are watching you and want to be like you and want to make the way they do things okay. So it could mean an entire culture shift for your family and direction for your family. So I would counsel people to be a good role model. We would be glad to help with that. If you have any questions about estate planning or elder law, please give us a call or visit us online. You can call us at 704-749-9244 or online at mcelderlaw.com. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening to the Elder Law Report and watching. And we'll come to you next week with an important piece of information we think that will add value to your life. Have a great week until then. See you next week. Thanks, Brenton.
Thanks.